It's time for Casey Cares, Kansas City's nonprofit voice, and we're telling the stories of Kansas City nonprofits and the people behind them. Casey Cares is the intersection of the nonprofit and profit communities, making Kansas City a better place to live, work, and play. This Casey Cares segment is brought to you by the Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation, www.kaufman.org. I'm Ruth Baum-Biggis. Prison life is hard. No one knows that better than Bo Cornelius. In 2017, Bo received a 7-year sentence and was sent to prison at the Algoa Correctional Center in Missouri. His wife, Abby Cornelius, and their daughter, Bee, would visit regularly, working hard to keep their loving family intact while Bo was behind bars. A dark time for many who are incarcerated, Bo was exposed to an innovative program, the Global Leadership Academy, through the Global Leadership Network. After attending the Global Leadership Summit, Bo was inspired to replicate this positive program and the leadership skills he gained in a prison program. It was transformational. Together, he and Abby wrote the program for incarcerated individuals while Bo was in prison. Once Bo was released in 2023, the couple took the next big step, creating Mountain Leadership, a nonprofit focused on resident-driven leadership training programs and much more. Casey Cares welcomes Bo and Abby to share this amazing journey. There's so much to unwrap, so welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're happy to be here.
Where to start? Okay, Bo, if you'd be willing to share a little bit more about your incarceration time and what that was like, and then how you moved forward to this interesting program.
Sure. So thank you very much for having us here. This is awesome. I went to prison in 2017. I was 40 years old, and I didn't have any clue what to do. I left a family, I left a home, I left a business, I left a life. Had a lot of problems that took me to prison, but I had a lot of good that I was leaving behind too. So at 40 years old, going to prison for the first time, it's just it's a hopeless experience. You're trying to find your way back and figure out how to, regain dignity, respect, how to rejoin community and get past this tragedy, this horrible thing that happened that I'm responsible for. It's a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, and how do you get through that? And so prison's just a dark, horrible place and is not conducive to any kind of reparation or repair or rehabilitation. So, you hold on to family, you hold on to everything that you can in that place. And out of that came an awesome thing.
Abby, I would love for you to share a little bit. Bo is, in a very set place with not much space in many, many ways. How was that for you and Bee? And how did you kind of get through that and then to this next level?
Well, it was really difficult at first because we were just so unaware of how things would be, and any preconceived notions of what the experience would be like were completely wrong. And the things that people think about prison are not the way that they actually are. So it was a really steep learning curve. And we had, a kid starting elementary school and helping her understand what was going on. Luckily for us, she's really emotionally intelligent and understood that there were some things that she was comfortable talking about and some things that she wasn't comfortable talking about. So with others. So we did a lot of work to talk on the phone as much as possible and to make sure we had a consistent bedtime routine that involved Bo. We drove across the state of Missouri every 2 weeks at least for visits. And we waited until she saw him there, which was about 4 months from when he left. We waited until she saw the place to tell her what it actually was. She thought that he was just away for a while. And once she saw it, she knew right away what it was. So that was part of the part of the preparation that we did some other things to try and be prepared, like power of attorney and just some like medical stuff that we tried to do ahead of time. But it was definitely a big shock and then a big adjustment of, living apart while parenting together.
Well, we're dealing with all the negative emotions while trying to figure out a positive way forward.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really during the transition or the adjustment, it was just really a dark time. We were figuring out what we could and couldn't say that was what was good for our relationship and what wasn't. We're charting a new path. How do I parent from a prison in 15-minute phone conversations and business? How do I be effective? And how do I be familiar? How do I stay known to my child? So these are all things that I'm working through at the same time that I'm, processing the hopelessness of what I am going through and what I am putting everyone through myself. The kind of the strange thing about it is you think you're doing everything for the right reasons. We talk ourselves into stuff, and at the end of the day, when you turn around and you look around, you're really hurting the people that we claim to care about the most. And that for me, that was a getting hit by a train, because I always prided myself on taking care of everybody around me. And I find myself in this place where I can't even buy my own underwear. So what now? Who am I now? What's my identity? And that tears you all the way down, and you got to start with a whole new foundation. And that includes the family unit and the way that you see everything.
At what point did this global leadership opportunity come to you? Where were you in your 7 years? And how did it come to you?
Yeah, it was 2 years into my sentence, and the year before was the first year that it streamed for 2 days in. I was in a warehouse with 500 people in an open bay, so I knew of people who were going to this 2-day event in 2018, but I was still hiding a lot and wasn't doing much to get invited or involved in anything. So the following year, I was able to attend. Somebody recommended me to go, and it just light bulb went off for me, that it reminded me that I was a human being. And that's what I said at the end of the 2 days. I got up and I wrote my prison number on one side of the paper and my name, first name on the other. And I said, for 2 years, I've been 291439, and coming in here reminded me, that I'm Bo and that I'm a person and that I have dignity and worth, and that, that I have experiences that have value. And, that these things that we're hearing here for 2 days are great, but that's how prison is. It's all transactional. And so for me right away, because of business experience, family experience, I'm like, how do we talk more about how these principles apply to family and life, instead of all this crap that quite frankly tears you down and makes you feel just shame. You feel like a horrible person. Like you feel like the best you can do is not be a scourge to society. But that's not very motivating and encouraging. But when you get in a room and people start talking about collaboration and how you build trust and how that, like, to me, I'm hearing how you repair relationships. I'm hearing the fix to what I'm experiencing. So it was just a very powerful kind of vision and mission for, how do you get stuff like this in here, and then how do you apply it? Because everything's so passive in prison. Everything is, anything that's active or relational is seen as risk. And that's where all the repair happens. All the repair happens in relations and wisdom, the skill of living. You have to let people live in order for them to learn how to live. You can't just keep them in a box, not trust them with a paper clip one day, and then say, hey, go to your community the next day and make everything okay. So, it just really lit a fire for me where things became clear. I started to get involved in different things. COVID happened, but I mean, I just kind of still, we made plans, and then in 2021, the summit came back around again, and I had done enough then. I was 4 years into my 6 years there. I had earned some, credibility and reputation, with both staff and the residents there. So I was in a place to start a program like this. So it was right place, right time. It was, all of that combined.
Who knew that prison would be that inspiration?
Mm-hmm.
Abby, so Bo's getting juiced up. He's learned about this thing. You had not experienced it. What was it like, and how did you communicate that and then start to move this forward?
Well, it was really exciting at first because he was so inspired by the event that when he would call and tell us about the day, then we could see kind of a transformation happening. For the beginning of Bo's sentence, I was really concerned about what kind of person would be coming home, like how damaged he would be and traumatized. And when he went to the GLS and started talking about the experience, it was so positive and so inspirational. And his comment was like, this needs to happen more than just 2 days a year. And so that was what helped spark that idea to create the program. And then he was kind of at a loss and was, we got a lot of no's, a lot of no's in the Department of Corrections, and so finally he offered to write the proposal to the powers that be, and so he was like, "We got to do this thing," thinking it was going to take, a long time. And we sat down in the visiting room, and in one session we had, kind of the proposal written and the purpose and the benefits and all the things taken care of.
Our full disclosure to our audience now, Abby, besides being a wonderful person and spouse and mother,
Thank you.
has a master's in library sciences. So you also have a skill set that you could, pardon me, bring to the table to get this rolling.
That's true. I also have a master's degree not only in library science but also in instructional design. So those were really
helpful.
The skills that I pulled, and that is my professional training. That's my daily life. I write stuff like this all the time because that's what lesson planning is. And in my work life, my role is to kind of encourage people who may not be interested in the topic to learn more about it and form their own opinions and figure out why it matters to their life. That's what teachers do. So this was just more of that. So that part I think was also encouraging to Bo because he thought it was.
Can I add in that's always a beautiful little poke for me to the system when they said no so much and then they say yes. They just think you're going to produce something that goes into the shredder. And when you produce something put forward by somebody with a master's in instructional design, the warden sat up in his chair. He knew he was looking at something that was thought out, considered. Between my tens of thousands of hours in the system and Abby's education and knowing how to put my experience into a structure, my ideas into a structure, it was beautiful from day one. Everyone was intrigued and involved, and it didn't go real great from the beginning. There were some tough things that we had to learn, like within the group and within the system. But it was kind of a clear cut path based on all of those things. And for me, that's just a lovely little poke because you couldn't put it in the trash can. Finally, that's how the first 4 years of my experience had gone was like, ideas, proposals. And now it's like, here you have something that's concrete. And now you fast forward 3 years later and we're piloting in 6 facilities successfully and doing more. So it's just more proving, which is just awesome for a little bit of pushback.
Yeah, I think we were able to create something that they couldn't say no to.
Yeah.
Well, kudos to you. Let's go back a little bit, though. I want you to be able to explain to our audience the Global Leadership Network is not a prison program. It's a leadership curriculum. Share with us.
And the Global Leadership Network is an organization that all over the world. It's a global organization that provides leadership training to all different kinds of communities. A lot of it is business communities, but a lot of it is just anyone. And so it's all over the world. There is a main event each year called the Global Leadership Summit, which does happen live in Illinois, but then is also live streamed all over the world. And then part of the Global Leadership Network is that they have these satellite organizations in other countries that then host their own summits as well, all throughout the year. So in America, the summit is in August, but in other countries, the summit is all throughout the year. It might be in March or it might be in April. It just depends on when that country hosts their own. And so they have speakers who are relevant and, leadership experts. And last year, we heard from Mike Krzyzewski. He spoke. We heard from Condoleezza Rice the year before that. And there's always 2 days, 8 speakers each day. And
Wow.
they share their words of wisdom, and most of them are authors and have podcasts and work in the
And
field.
it's encouraging, it's forward facing. They have to get people to pay $200 to buy a ticket to come spend 2 days participating in this. And for businesses to sign up to be host sites and churches sign up to be host sites. So, they have to make it in a way that people enjoy sitting through and then say, I want to come back and do this next year. But in a prison, it's just phenomenal because everything in prison is, risk averse and risk based, and everything is like fixing, it's just negative problem solving. So to get in front of something and feel able and capable and be able to put like the vocabulary to it, for me, it was just like I could start to process and learn how to talk about these things that I was understanding or that I was seeing, the dichotomies of prison and all of these things. Like, how do you even explain what you're seeing here? That
Well,
takes
and
vocabulary and
the way that it gets
understanding.
sent to prisons is the Global Leadership Network provides it to prisons for free as a tool, part of their ministry. So that's how, if the prison signs up, then they get a little bit of tech support in how to make the streaming work, and then they just do whatever they do. Some prisons just like show it on a screen and anybody can come and go. Some of them have it, sent to the tablets, and the guys can watch in their, in their housing units or in their cells. It just depends on who's running things at
It goes to 225 prisons in the United States and 70 prisons in the UK, and starting to reach some prisons in South America, Brazil this year. So even globally in prisons now. And it started organically 10 years ago. Somebody who worked in a prison who knew of the summit said, hey, this would be great inside of a prison. And it just really expanded grassroots organically from there. And when I got out, they kind of didn't really know how they found themselves in that many prisons. It was just kind of a good fit. And so I was a great person to explain it to them.
So we're talking with Bo and Abby Cornelius. They founded Second Mountain Leadership. We've been talking about the experience in prison and the motivation for all of that. So fast forward, you are released. Create a nonprofit. I mean, let's talk about that and the focus of the nonprofit.
Well, we knew that we wanted to continue the work that we had started while Bo was incarcerated. So through some meetings and opportunities that kind of came from some letters that we wrote and some things that we shared with the Global Leadership Network, we decided that we needed to found an organization that would help people the way Bo was helped, because prison does not rehabilitate naturally. He is certainly an anomaly, or we are an anomaly in the fact that he did improve himself while he was there. There are some people working on that, but it's because of their own volition. It's not because the system makes that an easy possibility. And then we had so many challenges when Bo came home that we did not anticipate, in terms of being able to get a driver's license back and go to the doctor and, get any kind of like the mail, like all these things that were difficult for us to navigate, when we do have resources and we do have education. So we started thinking about all the guys that Bo met who have nothing. They have no people who come visit them. Some of them are getting released into homeless shelters. They don't have any money. They don't have any education. They don't have any understanding of how you navigate in the world. So naturally, the only option is to reoffend because they can't operate. So we decided that that's what Second Mountain Leadership would do, is use these leadership principles that we've been planning and learning about to help people before they get released, and then provide assistance once they are released.
Bo, tell us a little bit about the actual curriculum then. How does this work?
Well, it's really peer to peer or peer led. It's not facilitated. Each week, two different guys take a lead. You take one talk from a summit. So there's 16 talks in 2 days, but we have archives of 25 years of talks. You take one talk, we tie leadership principles to it, one or two. And then guys, we watch the video. The pair of guys will give a short presentation on the talk and the principle and how it applies to their current situation. And then they lead a 75-minute discussion, roundtable discussion about how we can use these principles now to change the system, change the system that we're in or the institution that we're in, how this works in social dynamics within the prison, how it works in relationship with staff, and then what that means for relationships in the future. What is your role when you go home? What role does humility play, not just with your significant other and your kid? I mean, if you want to be humble with your wife and daughter when you get home, how do you practice that now with these angry COs that you're around? I mean, the culture is the problem, not the people. The culture, prison culture, turns people into the system, whether you're a prisoner or a staff member. They all have their own stories. So can we use humility? Can we use resilience? Can we gain understanding in how these can be beneficial, tactical, how we use empathy to relate to each other, how we connect through struggle? We're impressed with strength, but we connect through struggle. Can we have conversations about this? So then guys, go back to the housing unit. They're calling their family and they're having these discussions. I know guys who have been locked up for 30 years who are having discussions about humility with his son and his grandkid at home for the first time. And this is the direction of the conversation, instead of just calling home and complaining about this system that won't help you out, because it is true, but it's also becomes who you are. Like, you can complain and eat snack cakes all day in prison if that's what you want to do. And it's a legit, I mean, the system's impossible to function in. The easiest thing, they love for you to go lay down and eat snack cakes and be lethargic. And, that makes you not a problem, but that's not good for the community and humanity. So
this is inspiring inmates to be active. And I love that it's your mind active.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's autonomous. Yeah, it's autonomous. It's perspective based. I don't think, I know what I learned from years of leading recovery tables and sitting with guys in their stories is what people are missing is not information. What people are missing is relation. I know guys that are in their 30s and 40s that have never had a healthy or positive relationship in their entire life. Not a single male figure. I've been with multiple guys whose bunkies in prison were their dads. They have no example of what it takes to function as an asset to society. But when you start to tell them that they can and that it's possible and that they can see a path, you can give them an example. I see it. I just saw it over and over again, that you can't help but be inspired. I mean, the system creates the culture, which creates the problem.
Abby, you are secretary treasurer. Bo is the executive director. Got to be a lot to balance. How many prisons is your curriculum in at this point, and what's the future look like?
So currently the GLA, the Global Leadership Academy, which is the name of the program, is running in 6 facilities, 5 prisons and 1 jail. The jail is a lot different because they have a much faster turnover. People aren't there as long. They're kind of in between. It's more transitional. But so we have those places so far. We also have some more facilities starting in Missouri in the upcoming months. And then we also help people get some certifications, which will help with employment. We just had our first graduate who got his peer specialist certification from Second Mountain. So he applied through the state. He took the course. He passed the test. So he can now be employed as a peer support specialist in the state of Missouri. For someone who has, had a real lived experience and can provide support to somebody who's struggling. So we also are hoping to open our transitional housing is opening this month. with our first people are moving in on Wednesday. And then we're also working with some events. We have connected with some people in Illinois who provide something called Hope Packs. Hope Packs are basically like Christmas gifts that are given to residents of correctional centers that just kind of show the residents that there are people out there who don't know them. They don't know anything about them, but they care about them. So they get a book that is written by us, and a team of people, and then incarcerated people can also submit to that book, writings or drawings or things like that. It's an activity book. They also get some snacks. They get a Christmas card, and so that's coming up in 2 weeks. We'll be traveling to Chicago for that, and we'll be helping bring back some Hope Packs for residents in Missouri. And then we also have 2 events coming up in January. There will be a concert at Jefferson City Correctional Center, where an artist named Lecrae will be joining Jonathan Irons, who was incarcerated for 23 years wrongfully in Jefferson City Correctional Center. So he's partnering with us and going back to the facility where he was wrongfully convicted or incarcerated. Well, he's going in on Thursday, and then the concert is in January. So he'll be part of that. And then in May, we'll host our second prison leadership conference. So last year was the first, and it did occur at the facility where Bo was incarcerated, Algoa Correctional Center. And that was basically kind of a global leadership summit, only inside the prison. So we had 3 national speakers who came and spoke to the residents. We had 70 visitors from outside the facility who came into the facility to participate in the conference. And then we had 16 residents who all spoke at the conference as well and gave some insight into some leadership principles that they have been focusing on during their incarceration. So all of those opportunities are really exciting, and they're all things that you can point your finger at the people that those events are helping. So that's why our nonprofit is really important, because, it's difficult. It's difficult to get people to care about people who have harmed society. And so realizing that every single person who is inside of a correctional center is also a victim, not just of the system, but they were a victim before they did whatever they did to victimize someone else. Every single person was a victim, with just some crazy stories. And just through all the people that we met, we really decided that this was what we needed to do. And we needed to find some people who, could learn about what the incarcerated population really is like and why they need the help that they need. It's easy to help foster kids and
right.
Well, and I think what's important, like what I learned going to prison at 40, I didn't go to prison at 20. I went to prison at 40 with a preconceived notion that the justice system was twofold, that there was a victim and there was an offender. And what prison showed so clearly was that we are all on the same side. This is a cycle. That people who are harmed do harm. It's not an excuse. We're still accountable and responsible to our actions. I'm not an abolitionist by any means. We are still have to be responsible, but you can directly point to a number of factors that cause people to go on and what we call bad behavior and unskilled expression of an unmet need. People don't know how to respond to things. Prison showed me that so bright. Couldn't be more clear that, there's pure evil out there, but we are all on one side. And unfortunately, we don't see it that way. And that's why, 80% of people go back to prison. That's why 80% of people with incarcerated parents, end up involved in the justice system themselves. So it's a cycle, and we're all on one side. So instead of looking at the other person across from you as a scourge, we can look at the other person across and say, what happened to you and how can I help? And the system will fix itself if we just change the questions that we're asking.
Well, kudos to both of you. Abby, give us the website so people can go find out more about the work you're doing and engage with you all.
Yeah, absolutely. Our website is www.secondmountainleadership.org, exactly how you'd think it was spelled.
And they'll have to go check out and see if they can find the answer to why it's called Second Mountain
Yep,
Leadership.
it's on there.
Thank you, Bo.
You can also view
Sure.
the May 9th event we had inside Algoa, and they asked us to have a password because of the speaker rights, and the password is Second Mountain, all one word. You can see the entire day that we had inside of the prison that we talked about earlier.
Well, congratulations to both of you. It's a privilege to share just a part of your story, and go get them.
Thank you so much, Ruth.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's awesome.
Thank you for joining us on Casey Cares, Kansas City's nonprofit voice, and we're produced by a nonprofit called Charitable Communications. This Casey Cares segment was brought to you by the Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation, www.kaufman.org. To be a guest on Casey Cares, find out all kinds of good information, you can go to our website at caseycaresonline.org. And spread the love. You'll find us on Facebook and Twitter at Casey Cares Radio and Instagram at Casey Cares Online. Don't forget, you can catch us on Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. on ESPN 1510 a.m. and 94.5 FM. Thank you for joining us on Casey Cares.